After spraining my ankle, I took a taxi to the hospital alone to have an abortion. The nurse asked where my family was, and I subconsciously made excuses for him. I was lying alone on the hospital bed, feeling the life slipping away from my belly. I opened my phone, only to find that his good brother had posted on his moments. The days without the tigress checking on me were relaxing. Brother Brian really cared about Sister Diana. The accompanying picture was Brian looking at his little childhood sweetheart lying on the hospital bed with gentle eyes. I liked this post, but it was quickly deleted. Brian also sent me a message, carefully explaining. I just smiled indifferently and wished him a happy time, but Brian panicked and asked me, "Ellie, why didn't you check on me?" Because I was in a hurry to go home for our wedding anniversary, I fell down the stairs and sprained my ankle. I sent a message to Brian, hoping he could come to the company to pick me up after work. I happily waited for his arrival and wanted to give him the flowers in person, but he only replied coldly, saying there would be a drinking party in the evening and I could eat whatever I wanted, as if he was afraid I would misunderstand. He even added deliberately that there were no messy people, just friends who had grown up together. I felt like a basin of cold water was poured over my head. I threw the flowers into the trash can and took a taxi to the hospital. When the doctor asked where my family was, I subconsciously answered that he was in a meeting. When I realized what I had said, I found it ridiculous and changed my answer. "I'm sorry, I'm a widower." The abortion was successful. I didn't feel any pain, but my heart felt empty, as if something was taken away. On the way back in the taxi, I saw a familiar car heading to the hospital. I wanted to message Brian to ask what happened, but I saw again that his good brother had posted the same message on his moments. The days without the tigress checking on him were relaxing. Brother Brian really cares about Sister Diana. The picture again showed Brian gazing gently at his childhood sweetheart on the hospital bed. They were part of a close-knit group, 4 men and 1 woman who had played together since childhood. In this group, he and Diana were always seen as a perfect match. If Diana hadn't been deceived into marrying a foreigner, it would never have been my turn to marry Brian. After Diana divorced and returned to China with her son, I became the villain who broke up this fairy tale couple. No one blamed Diana for leaving Brian. Instead, they blamed me for interfering in their relationship. Their little group had a lot of fun and always drank late into the night. I was worried about Brian's bad stomach, so I often called him to urge him to come home. Over time, this group began to resent me and saw my concern as being a spoilsport. They even nicknamed me Tigress behind my back. When they were guests at our house, they treated me like a nanny. Today, Brian chose them over me once again. It's fine. At least I won't be soft-hearted anymore. I had liked that post on WeChat Moments, but they deleted it quickly, as if forgetting to hide it from me. Around 3 in the morning, Brian finally came back reeking of alcohol. He lingered in the restaurant for a while before quietly opening the bedroom door. When he saw I was still awake, a trace of panic flashed in his eyes, but he still gently covered me with a quilt. Didn't he say he was making sobering soup for me today? I hummed in response. The strong smell of alcohol couldn't mask the scent of perfume on him, which made me feel nauseous. He sighed, seemed like he wanted to say something but held back, and finally only said, "You are pregnant. Have a good rest." The next day, I arrived at the company early. No matter how broken I was emotionally, I couldn't let it affect my work. Before, I was always late because I was busy taking care of Brian. This time, arriving early surprised the supervisor. After the morning meeting, she called me. "Ellie, the company has an opportunity at an overseas branch. Are you interested? I've always recognized your ability, but I was worried it might be inconvenient for you." She didn't finish, but I nodded immediately. "Supervisor, I'll cherish this opportunity." She seemed surprised at my quick agreement and hesitated, asking in a low voice, "I saw you throw away the flowers last night. Did you have a fight with your husband?" I smiled and shook my head. "Fight? No. Brian never fights with me. He just looks at me like I'm a child being unreasonable." My phone suddenly vibrated. It was Brian. His voice was gentle, but with a hint of dissatisfaction. "Are you busy today? Why did you leave without cooking for me? Yesterday was our anniversary. I brought you a gift." I asked curiously, "What gift?" It was in my coat pocket. "A ring." He fumbled through his pockets and muttered, "Strange. Where did it go?" Then, as if realizing something, he added dryly, "Maybe it fell in the car. I'll buy you another one." I smiled bitterly. In the photo from yesterday, Diana was wearing a ring. So even for our anniversary gift, she was the one who tried it on first? No need. I forgot to get you a gift too. Ellie, are you angry? I really did buy you a gift. Yes, I answered softly. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up now. I'm busy with work. Since that day, things between us remained lukewarm. A few days later, Brian's mother invited me to dinner at her house for the first time. She had always looked down on me and only saw Diana as her real daughter-in-law. I considered not going, but decided not to offend her. I arrived by taxi. When I walked in, Brian's brothers were helping serve dishes. The room fell silent. Someone whispered, "Why invite her again?" They didn't let Brian drink with me. I ignored them and found a place to sit. Soon after, Brian and Diana arrived. I noticed the ring on Diana's hand was gone. She walked into the kitchen and chatted cheerfully with Brian's mother. Brian came over and took out the ring like it was a treasure. He lied without blinking. "I really forgot it in the car." He didn't seem to notice my expression. He pulled my hand and slid the ring onto my finger. I looked at it and suddenly felt disgusted. How many lies like this had he told? In the kitchen, Brian's mother smiled warmly at Diana, who clung to her arm and acted spoiled. "Annie, did you miss me? If you missed me, why didn't you come see me more? I feel like you don't have Brian and me in your heart." Brian's mother glanced at me. Suddenly, she pulled Diana over. "By the way, Ellie, I haven't introduced her to you yet. Diana is his goddaughter Brian's sister. Don't worry about their relationship. Don't check on Brian and Ellie when they go out in the future. Are you still worried about Brian's character?" She stood in front of me, and there was a hint of command in her tone. "That's right, sister-in-law. You always check on him, which makes me feel bad. You see, we are all decent people. We won't take Brother Brian to do bad things. Besides, our company has just been established and there are a lot of things to do. Who didn't go through the startup stage like this? What's wrong with coming home late at night?" Sister Diana was even hospitalized because she had to accompany a client to drink. If the two of them had the same idea, they would have been together a long time ago. "Don't worry, sister-in-law." The person who echoed was Victor. He is Brian's good brother, the one who supports Brian Diana's CP the most, and the one who forgot to cover me when posting a status in the circle of friends before. He has always disliked me. When he saw me being taught a lesson by the elders, he immediately cooperated with Brian's mother with gloating. I frowned. What company? What startup? Wasn't Brian doing well in the company? Why did he suddenly set up a small company? Realizing that he had let the cat out of the bag, Victor shut up immediately, and the others stopped talking. The meal was tasteless. Everyone at the table was speechless because of what had just happened. After the meal, it suddenly started raining. Brian came over cautiously again. "Ellie, it's not safe for Diana to go home alone as a girl. You should stay with your mother for a while. I'll send her back and pick you up." I nodded. Brian looked at me as if he wanted to say something, but in the end he just squeezed my hand and then let go, escorting Diana away. I watched their backs as they left, turned on my phone, called a Didi for myself, and took a taxi home alone despite Brian's mother's attempts to persuade me to stay. The rain poured down on me, and I thought I must be in a mess now. Brian rushed back in the rain and held me in his arms, saying, "I'm sorry, Ellie, I've wronged you. But Diana still has a child. After all, I brought her here. I have to settle her down first. Why aren't you at your mother's house?" At the end, there was even a hint of complaint in his tone. "Are you the only one who can send her back?" I suddenly asked sincerely. "What? You and Victor both drove here today. Are you the only one who can send Diana back?" Brian's eyes turned from confusion to shame and annoyance. He pursed his lips. I interrupted him. "It was you who wanted to send her back." He suddenly felt depressed. He sighed. "Ellie, are you jealous? I only regard Diana as my sister. She is alone and divorced with a child. There will always be many difficulties. I am thinking of the affection we grew up together, so I will help her as much as I can. Even quit your job for her and start a business with her?" I pushed him away, not wanting to be attached to this warmth that does not belong to me. Brian was stunned for a moment and continued to explain. You misunderstood. The company was founded by everyone discussing, and we just wanted to seize this opportunity. He adjusted his tie impatiently and stared at me with his still affectionate eyes. Don't think too much. You're about to become a mother. Why are you still so jealous? Be careful not to give birth to a jealous child. Huh. But our child is gone. I was about to speak when Brian's cell phone rang. The moment it was connected, a baby's voice came. Dad, Brian, why haven't you come to see me yet? The baby misses you. He looked at me with uncontrollable panic in his eyes. He quickly covered the receiver with his hand and walked towards the bedroom. After a while, he changed his clothes and prepared to go out again. I'm sorry, Ellie. Diana said that the child was sick and wanted to see me. I shook my head indifferently. I'm fine. You go. Brian dropped a kiss on my face. After I finish my business, I will never contact her alone again. I will make time to accompany you and the baby. He had just left when Victor and the other two brothers sent a message in the next second. Sister-in-law, something happened to Diana. Can you let Brother Brian go over there? I didn't reply to their message and discussed the details of going to the overseas branch with my supervisor. In the circle of friends, Diana updated a status. The two most important men in my life. The picture was of Brian and her baby, who were sleeping. Brian's business was going smoothly, and he quickly won the first project. He invited me to the celebration banquet with him and repeatedly assured me that he would accompany me and the baby well in the future. If you see anything wrong with me, just tell me and I'll change it. As a result, when we arrived at the restaurant, the waitress's smile froze on her face. She whispered, "Why did you change people?" Her voice was not loud, but just loud enough for me to hear. I stopped. My supervisor just happened to send me a message saying that there were some things I needed to go back to the company to confirm. Brian had a gloomy face and looked unwilling. Can't you postpone your work for me? I shook my head. How many times have I called him when I needed him, and he hung up the phone without asking a single question, saying that he was working overtime. I was kind enough to bring him food. His colleague liked my clothes and added my contact information to get the same one. When he saw it, he blamed me for supervising him. He said that he was almost suffocated by my supervision and that I was not allowed to disturb his work again. But now he actually wants me to give up my job for a celebration party that has nothing to do with me. Brian paced irritably. Ellie, it was you who didn't trust me and Diana, so I brought you to the celebration party. Now that you leave, don't be jealous again. I nodded. Jealousy is meaningless. After the plan to go abroad was confirmed, my supervisor told me that the time would be next Sunday. She looked at me with pity. You have lost a lot of weight these days. Are you still in the Cold War? I didn't answer. Maybe I was just waiting for the final verdict. Suddenly, a friend request popped up on my phone. The avatar was the waitress I just met in the hotel. After I accepted it, she sent me a video. In the video, Diana held a wine glass and fed it to Brian. His brothers were cheering around him. After the video ended, the other party sent a message. You are the most disgusting mistresses who are not allowed to see the light. I was so angry that I laughed. I took out the marriage certificate from the album and sent it to him. The other party replied, "It," and blocked me. I transferred the record to Brian and turned off my phone. There are many procedures to go through. When I finish the company's work, I will turn it on again. I received a call from Brian's mother. Her tone was sharp and her words were rude. Ellie, where have you been? Brian is in the police station because of you. I didn't understand. I asked her, what's wrong? She was so angry that her voice was shaking. What else is wrong? What did you send him? He suddenly hit someone and Diana and the others couldn't stop him. Now the police have arrested him for questioning. I'm out of town and can't go back. You hurry over to see what's going on. I really don't know how you are as a wife. Are you jealous again? She didn't give me a chance to refute and hung up the phone directly. She seemed very angry. When I rushed to the police station, Brian had already settled the matter privately with the other party. He covered his face, scratched and bleeding, and came to my side as soon as he saw me. Ellie, listen to me. Things are not what you think. It's just a punishment game. Everyone was playing. This woman misunderstood, so she took the photo like that on purpose. Diana's face was full of apologies, but her eyes couldn't hide the pride. I'm sorry, sister-in-law. We grew up together. We're used to this, don't worry. I really have nothing to do with Brother Brian. Before I could say anything, the waitress who also came out of the police station limped over and spat at Diana fiercely. Shameless homewrecker. Diana's face turned pale. Brian glared at the waitress viciously, his fists clenched with a loud sound. Tears welled up in Diana's eyes as she spoke as if she had suffered a great injustice. Sister-in-law, you have to believe that Brother Brian and I are innocent. I nodded. You are innocent. Okay, let's go home first. Brian instinctively tried to smooth things over when he noticed something was wrong with me. I opened the passenger door of his car. A child was sitting on it. He made a face at me when he saw me. Bad woman. Tigress. The childish words were full of malice.
Oh.
Nathan, how can you talk to your aunt like that? Diana instinctively looked at Brian and saw that he just covered his face and said nothing. Then she added, I don't know where this child learned this nonsense. Ellie, don't mind him. He just likes Brother Brian too much. Last time he had a fever, he kept asking for Brother Brian. Brother Brian will definitely be a good father in the future. I didn't react as she expected. I just nodded lightly. You're right. Brian's face turned even darker. He slowly said, In that case, then you drive. Nathan and I will sit in the back. He deliberately provoked me, wanting me to be jealous, but when I saw the three of them together, I didn't feel even a trace of anger. Brian is no longer the person who can affect my emotions with every move. Nathan didn't realize anything was wrong. He just thought he had helped his mother win Brian back. His proud look was exactly like Diana's. The three of them squeezed in the back, and Nathan sat between the two of them. They looked like a happy family of three, but Brian kept frowning and didn't say a word. To ease the tension, Diana took the initiative to speak. Sister-in-law, I always thought you were jealous when I heard Victor and the others mention it before. Now it seems that you're not that kind of person at all. I drove and only responded with a perfunctory, Diana seemed encouraged. Brother Brian is really a good man. He has always taken good care of us, mother and son. Nathan has been without a father since he was little. Although he doesn't say it, he's always longed for fatherly love. I was thinking, can I borrow Brother Brian from you, sister-in-law, and let him accompany Nathan and me to a parent-child park next Sunday? With Nathan around, Brother Brian and I will definitely not do anything inappropriate. The car stopped. I turned around and smiled calmly.
Of course you can.
You don't need to report this to me. He's an adult and can make his own decisions. Ellie. Brian frowned even more. He opened the car door for Diana and Nathan. After sending them upstairs, he opened the driver's door with a sullen face and asked me to sit in the front, but I stayed in the back. Why didn't you sit in the front? Are you angry? I shook my head. I'm just tired. Without Diana and Nathan, the car became quiet, suffocatingly so. Brian still couldn't hold back. This is the last time. After this, I'll talk to Diana and Nathan clearly. Ellie, can you trust me again? I nodded in his expectant gaze. He breathed a sigh of relief, thinking he had survived the disaster. But my heart was desolate. It really doesn't matter.
I'm going abroad next Sunday.
Out of guilt, Brian was especially attentive this week. He got up early to make me breakfast, but his cooking was awful, hard to swallow. I said thank you, took the lunchbox he made, and threw it into the trash can as soon as I left. He started sending me frequent messages, reporting where he was, what he was doing, and who he was with, as if we were back in our passionate dating days. Actually, Brian was the one who started sending me his schedule in the beginning, but I got used to it, and eventually he got tired. A week passed in a flash. On Sunday, Brian dressed nicely. He pretended not to care, but the tie he wore still showed how much he valued the meeting. It was the first gift I gave him, costing me half a year's salary. He once said he would wear it until our golden wedding anniversary. But now, he wore it again because he was going to meet another woman and her child. After he left, I silently took off the ring he gave me and placed it on the coffee table, pressing down the divorce agreement I had prepared long ago. I packed my suitcase and boarded the plane abroad. If Brian had been more observant, he would have noticed I had been packing lately. If he had looked carefully, he would have seen that my belly didn't have the slight bulge it should have at 4 months pregnant. All his attention had been on someone else. He hated being tied down but was willing to run into another woman's arms. In that case, let's part peacefully. The plane flew for a long time, long enough for me to walk through the ending of our story in my sleep. As soon as I landed, there were dozens of missed calls and hundreds of text messages. Brian was nearly going crazy, asking over and over where I had gone and why I wasn't at home. There were also messages from my supervisor. Have you seen the hot searches? Are you okay? Ellie, if there's a problem, I can apply to transfer you back from the headquarters. You should deal with your family affairs before working at the branch. I clicked on the hot searches. One entry, maybe this is what happiness looks like, was particularly eye-catching. It was a blogger documenting her life with her son, her husband, and her mother-in-law. It looked warm and plain, ordinary yet beautiful. If the husband wasn't Brian and the mother-in-law wasn't Brian's mother, maybe I wouldn't have minded. But in the blogger's signature, a single line cut into my heart. After all the twists and turns, the person who stayed with me to the end was still you. Turns out I was just a passerby in the story of the male and female protagonists. Brian's call came again. I picked up, and there was deep sadness in his voice. Ellie, it's not what you think. Believe me, Diana just wanted to record her life. She didn't expect to be moved by a marketing account. We shouldn't let the internet affect our lives. Ellie, I don't want to get divorced. Can we talk about it? Where are you? I miss you so much. I want to find you. I sighed. Brian, you can't find me. What do you mean? The company has opened a new branch abroad. I have applied for a position here. The divorce agreement is on the coffee table. Just sign it, if there is no problem. Don't make it too ugly. I won't sign it. Brian suddenly became very willful. He kept saying, Ellie, you still like me. You're just angry, right? I will keep a distance from Diana in the future. I will never do anything you don't like. I really know I was wrong. Can we still be the same as before? I shook my head.
No.
Please, Ellie. Brian's voice was choked. Just think of it as for the baby. The wind blew, and I felt a chill on my face. Then I realized I was crying. But my voice was still firm. There is no baby anymore. Brian, I had an abortion on the day you put the ring on Diana. Brian was silent for a long time and finally hung up the phone. I breathed in the fresh air abroad, as if I were reborn. The news of my divorce from Brian soon spread among our friends. Those who supported me scolded Brian for being a scumbag, while Brian's brothers were surprisingly silent. Only Victor was still jumping around in the circle of friends, posting photos of them drinking together and staying in the same room, as if in protest. Below was Diana's comment. It was like returning to childhood, even if it was 3 o'clock in the morning last night. I used to be afraid that Brian would have a stomach attack, so I would always call him as soon as possible to persuade him to go home early. But now, I just turn off the screen of my phone and continue to devote myself to work. Occasionally, Brian would send me a few messages, but I never replied. His tone changed from affirmation to pleading. Ellie, if the baby is gone, we can still have another one. Can you forgive me once? I only made a mistake this time. I really will change. I can't live without you. Please. I can't tell whether he was drunk or sober when he sent those messages, but I don't care anymore. Brian said he wanted freedom, so I will give freedom to both of us now, since they all think Diana is a better match for him. Then it was time for me, the vicious female supporting role, to leave the stage. I turned my grief and anger into motivation and worked extra hard. Soon I attracted the attention of the company's top management. In just 1 month, I passed the review and officially joined the 3rd research group. At the welcome banquet, everyone urged me to drink. Eric from the same group suddenly stood up to block the wine for me. He was dressed in a neat suit and had a cold face. Because we were both Chinese, he and I were always very close. It was like having someone to take care of me when I was working far from home. I understood what he was thinking about me, but a failed marriage forced me to be disappointed in love temporarily. Just when I was having a good time, another call came in. I picked up the phone, and there was a long silence on the other end. After a while, Brian asked in a hoarse voice, "Why is there a man on your side?" I chuckled. "Does it have anything to do with you?"
Yes.
Of course not. After knowing each other for so many years, this was the first time I heard Brian lose his temper like this. He shouted angrily, "We haven't divorced yet. I haven't signed the divorce agreement." I don't want to lose you.
Why don't you care about me?
Why aren't you jealous? Ellie, come back. I miss you. I miss you very much. It's too late. I interrupted his heartfelt confession. My voice was still very light. I said, I don't love you anymore. There were sobbing sounds from the other end of the phone, but I ignored them and hung up. I contacted a lawyer. After leaving this love that made me sink, I became terribly sober. Since negotiated divorce doesn't work, I will go through the litigation process. No matter what, I will not be entangled with Brian anymore. The dinner was over, and I didn't drink a single glass of wine, but Eric was drunk. My colleagues started to make me take the responsibility to send Eric home. Some female colleagues even winked at me, looking gossipy. Who called you just now? Could it be that there are other suitors? Then our little, he can't drink this dinner for nothing. I also saw that everyone came to this party to match Eric and me, but I shook my head and decided to be honest. It's my husband. Pop. It was the sound of a wine glass falling to the ground. I turned around and saw the obscurity in Eric's eyes. Because of my words, the atmosphere of the party gradually cooled down. I seemed to be born with the ability to spoil the fun. I helped Eric get into the car, and he was dizzy. His eyes were always on me. I leaned over to fasten his seatbelt, but he hugged me. I struggled twice and heard his heart beating heavily. He asked me in a muffled voice, "Am I late?" The night was very quiet, only a few insects chirping in the distance. I asked, "Eric, do you want to hear my story?" I was talking along the way, but Eric just listened quietly without any response. Sometimes I even suspected that he was drunk, but every time I paused, he would open his eyes and look at me, wanting to know what happened next. I unconsciously poured out all the grievances in my heart. When I sent him home, I realized that I had mistaken him for a tree hole. I apologized to him, embarrassed, but Eric touched my head. The moonlight coated him with a layer of silver light. He slowly spoke. True love is innocent. The guilty one is the one who betrays the love. I will wait for you. Wait for the day when you are willing to accept this love. In the middle of the night, I was awakened by the urgent ringing of the phone. As soon as I answered, I heard the cry of my mother-in-law. I was disturbed from my sleep and was in no mood to listen to her crying. I asked unhappily, "Is there anything wrong?" It was rare that my mother-in-law's attitude toward me had become very good. In the past, she always ordered me and accused me in a condescending manner, as if I were a fox who seduced her son. She would even deliberately embarrass me for Diana. But this time, she hesitantly asked me, "Ellie, are you free now?" I spoke coldly and reminded her that I was abroad, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I sighed and said, "We are the Bryan family, and we are sorry for you. But can you help Brian clarify it and say that you are divorced?" "Ellie, I know this will be unfair to you, but I am also desperate. Just pity an old woman like me. Brian's father passed away early. If Brian gets into trouble again, I really can't live anymore." Only then did I piece together the complete course of events from her few words. I swiped my tablet and found that the last hot search had a follow-up. An insider revealed that Brian was married, and Diana also went from being an envied love blogger to a mistress that everyone wanted to beat. All major platforms were cyberbullying the two of them. Some people even photoshopped their posthumous photos. Even Nathan was rumored to be Brian's illegitimate child. I noticed that in the contact list, Diana's profile picture had turned into a pure black photo, and all her friend circle posts were deleted. I was a little annoyed. Why didn't I let this pile of mess go after I fled abroad? After completely losing my patience, I suppressed my anger and scolded. "You don't have to blackmail me morally. It's your son who refuses to divorce now, not me. If you are really afraid that Brian will get into an accident, then let him sign the divorce agreement quickly." "Ellie, why do you say that? Brian is your husband after all. He won't be after the divorce." I turned off the phone with a snap and threw it on the bed. Grievances surged into my heart like a tide. Why should I give in again and again? The trouble they caused should be dealt with by themselves. No one should drag me into that deformed circle now. Perhaps it was because I had unloaded the burden in my heart that I slept exceptionally well that night. To celebrate my joining the company gave me half a day off. I slept until noon before going to work. However, not long after, a colleague came over and said that there was a homeless man looking for me outside the door. I didn't understand why, but Eric came over worriedly and wanted to go with me. I had just walked to the door when I saw that familiar figure from behind it was Brian. I hadn't seen him for many days. He had lost a lot of weight, his cheeks were sunken, there were dark spots under his eyes, and his hair was messy, as if he hadn't dressed up seriously for a long time. When he saw me, his cloudy eyes brightened up again, but the moment he saw Eric, he became furious. He rushed over and wanted to push Eric away. "Get out. Who allowed you to get close to Ellie?" Unlike Brian's miserable state, Eric's daily routine was very regular, and he had always maintained a good fitness habit. When Brian pushed him, Eric didn't even move. I frowned, not understanding why Brian made such a fuss. Brian turned his head away. His eyes were bloodshot, and he looked decadent. He walked up to me, lowered his head, and begged, "Ellie, come back with me. We won't get divorced, okay?" I shook my head. "Brian, we're over. You're not only sorry to me, but also to Diana for being like this." "No, it's not over." Brian was anxious. He wanted to come over and hold my hand, but he was stopped by Eric. Eric pushed Brian gently, and he fell to the ground. The ring that I had abandoned on the coffee table fell out and rolled a few times. Brian's eyes became redder. He held the ring and begged me, "Ellie, can you give me another chance?" I still shook my head. "Even if you refuse to sign the divorce agreement, I can also file for divorce. Delay is meaningless in the current situation. Even if it is for Diana and Nathan, just sign the divorce agreement." I turned and left. Brian wanted to catch up, but was stopped by the security guard at the door. He shouted my name desperately behind me, again and again, but I would never look back for him. Later I heard that Diana ran away with all their money. Brian couldn't stand the blow. He was drunk at home all day. He was completely ruined. His childhood friend called me several times and told me about Brian's rotten life. I just listened silently, without any ripples in my heart. A few months later, I received the divorce agreement signed by Brian. Looking at the divorce agreement in my hand, I thought, my shackles are now unlocked. Everything that happened yesterday is gone with yesterday. I will have a new life in the future.